Hello, hello everybody, and welcome to Wellness Wednesday. How are we? I hope I find you well. I see Edna is in the chat. Good, good. Get yourself up here, Edna. I've had a very busy day, so I need Edna in the chat or up beside me to just keep me awake, really, guys. Um, so there we go, Edna. That's just for you. Um, I hope you're, as I said, I hope you're well. I hope you've had a good week. I've had a good week. We're only on Wednesday, and I'm knackered, guys. I've managed to get 2 videos up, which is quite good for like a week. Let me just see. Let me just see. Just so I can show you, because it is my channel. I should be allowed to do this, shouldn't I? So come on, Jan. So, okay, I'm going to show you what I've done this week. I've been a very, very busy girl. So this week, I've done 2. Yesterday, I did a tea and treason video. Um, yeah. So I don't know if any of you have checked those out. That's this one here. I don't know if any of you have checked those out. You should give them a look. It's basically a British psychologist who's got like a massive hate boner for Prince William, not William, Harry and Meghan. But she loves all the other royals. So yeah, I just like to sort of have a look at that, see what she's up to. So that's my Tea and Treason series going on there. I also uploaded just an hour ago. I uploaded another in the Hussey series, the Real Hussey series. Nothing changes with that man. So yeah, so as you can see, I've been a busy little bee, which I like to do. It's important. It's important that we keep ourselves busy. But I don't really like to spend too much time online because it's not good for you. Isn't that right, Edna? How you doing, darling?
Yes, it is. I'm doing well, Jen. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm a bit tired, but that's to be expected, I suppose. Went shopping earlier on today. Had to get some groceries in. Although I'm trying to sort of not cook anymore because I've spent so many years, my whole and adult life cooking, and I've just about had enough of it, Edna. So
Oh,
I'm
wow.
like,
I don't blame you. But I'm also not feeling like cooking. I got
yeah,
a meal to cook. I
it's
got salad to
something I
make.
think, especially, in my sort of age group where most of us have cooked for so long that
Mhm.
we just sort of, it's just something you always do. But I honestly, I've had enough of it. I've
Right.
just
Well,
had
you
enough.
have to.
Yeah. So I want you to keep an eye on my mic. I've got it very close to
Okay.
my mouth at the moment, but I've noticed when I played back some of the live stream when you were saying that it kept sort of dipping in and out. I've
Mhm.
had a tweak with it today and I've got it really close to me. And so I want you to tell me if it goes muffled. It doesn't seem
Okay.
well, I say it doesn't seem to when I do like my standalone videos, but when I'm editing it, I can see that it does fluctuate. The volume definitely fluctuates, and I'm not happy about that.
Okay.
Not happy
Right.
because I'm a bit of a perfectionist. So I thought, right, okay, we'll see how we go tonight. I've given it a tweak. Hopefully, it'll be okay. So, what have you been up to this week, Edna?
I've been really just doing tax. Just
Nothing
trying
new
to
there,
figure
then.
out. Oh, I mean, I don't know. It's nothing new. I'm just doing it's tax season, y'all, and I do taxes. So I'm enjoying my tax work, my coworkers.
Mhm.
Chatting with friends and family, stuff like
That's
that. I went to
good.
the grocery store as well today, which was nice because I caught some sales. I
Okay.
also don't feel like cooking. And yeah, like our salad kits are probably about $3 each now. Um, and they were on sale for $1 each. So I stocked up for the week. It's
Oh,
nice.
isn't it great when you get a bargain? Absolutely great.
Absolutely.
Well, as I said, as I warned you all last week, it was Mother's Day on Sunday. We call it Mothering Sunday. I don't know whether you have the same thing over there in the States, but
Yes, we
we
celebrate on a Sunday in May.
oh, okay, okay. Well, we had Mothering Sunday, and as usual, my kids just spoil me rotten. We had a meal on the actual Sunday, and that's when my daughter said, "Mum, we're going to Champneys." No, I thought she said, "Mum, I'm going to Champneys," because she's always going here, there, and everywhere with her friends. And I said, "Oh," she said, "Oh, Mum, I'm going to Champneys." That's what I heard. And she said, I said, "Oh, great, have a good time." And she said, "No, you're coming as well." So I did.
Now, what's
We did.
Champneys?
Champneys is just a minute. I've got to let the cat in. Come on, don't be
Okay.
silly now. Just
Asta.
yeah, ask her. Misbehaving. She's out there. She's got the zoomies at the moment. She's been running
Oh,
around.
I understand.
Um,
Okay.
for the
You
last
got to
10
get the
minutes.
energy out.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, so Champneys, hang on, I could show you. There we go. I did a short. Hang on one sec. Let's get it up. I did a short on it. It's a lovely place. It's actually a spa. It's a spa and health club. Now I'm not a member of the club,
Mm-hmm.
but it's quite sort of, high end. It's quite a high-end place. There's a couple of them in England. Right, let me stop that. How do I stop? That's it. There's a couple of them in England. I've been to one, a different one. I think I'm right in saying that this particular one is meant to be like the best one. Eh to be honest,
Oh,
I don't agree. Um, but anyway, I just felt that it needed a lot more, I don't know, a bit updating. So this was
oh,
Champney.
okay.
Okay, this is it here. So let's just play it.
Champney. Look.
Champneys, Henlo.
Yep.
Henlo's the place.
Champ. What is Henlo?
What?
Y- Were you saying what a Henlo is?
I said, right, okay, let's
Henlo.
start at the beginning. Right, okay. Right. Let's start at the beginning. I'm not gonna get cross. Right, because there's no point. Right, Champneys is the name of the business, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Henlo is the name of the place, so that's called Champneys Henlo. Okay, so it's
Okay.
Champneys Health and Health Club in Henlo. Now the other one that I've been to is called Champneys Tring. So there's Champneys in Tring, but this one is in
Oh.
Henlo. Okay.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. You know what's so nice is that I don't know if you've had a spa day before, but when you go in, you change out of your clothes and you just walk around in a
Mhm.
bathrobe, in a white
Yeah.
bathrobe and
Yeah.
slippers, and everyone's like walking around in slippers and a bathrobe. And
Mhm.
and then after we'd sort of gone swimming and gone in the spa, we played Scrabble and I won. I always win. Can't help it.
Nice.
Right.
We can't hear the music, I think, or I can't hear it.
Sorry, you can't hear the music?
No, it's silent.
Oh, that's fine. That's good actually, because
Okay,
yeah, I don't know why you can't hear the music, but anyway.
that's why I was talking. Sorry, T.
Right, yeah, there is music on there, but hey, never mind. You talked over it anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Um,
I
right
couldn't hear
now.
anything. I didn't know if you wanted filler or
Yeah,
not.
I don't know why
But
you can't hear the
cool.
music. Why
I
could you
feel
not hear the music? Okay, can you hear that?
no. I wonder, it could just be me. Anyone in
First,
chat, can you hear?
yeah.
Anyone
And
watching?
we've got Ryan Muddy in here. Interesting. Hi, Ryan. All
Hi,
right, let's
Ryan.
keep asking. Let's get rid of this. Right, I just want to know what's going on with Kate Middleton. Do you know what's going on with her? I heard she was missing. I've no idea. I've no idea. I don't
Jen, you haven't
pay.
heard the controversy?
Uh, One of the reasons I've no idea is because I'm not interested. I don't. Oh, what am I doing? Um, I don't like. How can I put it? I, as a Brit, I'm. Yeah, I will. How can I put it? It's not that I don't like the royal family. I do like the royal family, but I don't like what they stand for, and particularly as regards Meghan and Harry, I think they've treated them appallingly, and
Hmm.
um, I think Kate Middleton is on the wrong side to who I would
Okay.
who I would was going to say affiliate with. It's not even that. Be interested in. So I'm not really that interested. But what we can do, we can actually
Jen,
Google it.
cold-hearted.
Shall we
Woman's
Google
missing.
it? Let's
Sure.
see. Kate Middleton. Do you know? I'm not though. No, I couldn't give two figs to be honest. I
No,
think
I'm
it's
just
quite,
joking with you, of course. Yeah. I understand.
I think it's quite interesting what they're trying to say. Let's see. We got this up on Google. Now, what you
I
have to
haven't seen
remember,
any pictures.
you haven't seen any pictures.
No, I've heard a little of the rumblings, and I've heard that it's like, kind of like a big deal because of the rumblings, but I haven't seen any of these alleged doctor photos or, anything like that. So,
Right. So what they're
but
saying
yeah.
is that there was a picture that came out, and apparently, right, have I got it on news? I've got it on everything, haven't I? Right. Oh, let's have a look at this. Right. All right. Let's look at this together. So, right. So, Kate apologizes over editing family photo as royals under pressure to release undoctored image. Now, apparently, this picture was shown, was put out. Oh, Cartier, it's nice. Um, that picture was put out, and people started saying it was doctored. Now, to be honest, as I said, I don't pay a lot of attention when when the news regards Kate or William or Charles or Camilla. I'm not interested in them. So I've not really paid, as much attention as I might have done to other royals. So
Mhm.
are you British, Ryan, or are you interested in it or not really? But anyway, so basically, if I read this, then we'll all understand, won't we? Hopefully. The Princess
Hopefully,
of
yeah.
Wales the Princess of Wales has been forced to apologise after she admitted editing a Mother's Day photo at the centre of an escalating royal row. Do you really believe that the Princess of Wales would be doctoring pictures for public consumption? I do not. I do not
Mm,
believe that for
no.
1 second. One, the royals, they have a very strict code, a very, a book full of rules that they have to abide by, and I'm sure they're not allowed
I
to
remember.
touch
Yeah,
pictures.
when Megan was getting ready for her wedding, I think we kind of all became aware of like all the rules and kind of like procedures and just kind of like policies that you kind of have to follow as a royal. It's interesting. The colors you wear,
Exactly.
things like that.
It's
Yeah.
insane what they have to do, and,
Hmm.
it but I think it's like with anything, you have to take what you are fed through mainstream media with a pinch of salt. That's what I'd say, because you're being fed that. You don't know the real truth of it. You can make your own assumptions and or, come to your own sort of assumptions on it. But, yeah, I'm very wary, especially with the British press. I don't know if other people's press is as, biased as our press are, but, yeah, I just take it all with a pinch of salt. So, the thing that I find quite interesting about, this is what exactly is going on with William. I'm interested to, find out whether he is uncomfortable with taking over the role of Charles or whether that's just, that's just speculation gone mad again. Divorce
Yeah.
what? Divorce ba
Divorce, baby divorce.
divorce. Oh, right. I don't know. I mean, the thing you have to realize also is right, okay, the thing you have to realize is that the royals aren't particularly, faithful people, put it that way. Another reason I don't like the royal family is because of the way they treated Diana. Charles, um, was given Diana as a gift. He was given Diana to give him the heir or the heirs of the throne. That was purely her duty. She was treated terribly by the royals, specifically Charles, who was seeing another woman who was Camilla and is a stuffed shirt, as we would say over here. I don't like him, never liked him. The only royals that I've ever liked, I have to say, is the Queen, and that's because I grew up with her as my queen. Um,
Right.
and now I like, Harry and Meghan because Harry stood up for what's right in the world, and that is, in my opinion, to welcome all cultures into your family, and by marrying a mixed race person, I think he could have it could have been monumental for Great Britain, but because there's too many older generation, royals, then it was, yeah, it's very sad that the inevitable happened. Um, hey, Bridge. Hi, darling.
Hey,
Kate
Bri.
is a Kate is the perfect wife. I don't think they'll ever get a divorce. Um, is she the perfect wife? I don't
He
know.
was a
I
commoner.
mean, well, when you say commoner, it's a bit like Diana being a commoner. Listen, the royals, right? Okay, the royals, they and their what do you call it, associates. There are hundreds of them. So
Hmm.
she's not a commoner in as much as she worked in the supermarket down the road. She's a commoner in as much as her parentage isn't one of royalty, the same as with Diana, but she's still within a certain circle of friends, put it that way.
Right.
Now,
I can understand
Harry
that, yeah.
Harry completely broke the protocol of that by,
Mhm.
marrying Meghan, and that's what I applaud him for. I just think I mean, I didn't used to think too much of him. Let me just have a drink. I didn't used to think too
Okay.
much of him, but when he married her, yeah, I think he's wonderful. I think he's absolutely wonderful. So let's get back onto this Kate business. Let's see what we think then is going on. Um, so they're saying that she's apologized. Catherine has apologized for doctoring the picture. I don't believe that for 1 second. Um, so it says 6 picture agencies, including the UK's most respected news agency, PA Media, took the unprecedented step of withdrawing the family photograph through so-called kill notices amid suspicions it had been manipulated. Let me tell you, if it was manipulated, it wouldn't have been Kate that did it. I mean, there's no way it would have been Kate that did it. It prompted Kate, who has been at the center of the conspiracy theories over her health since having abdominal surgery in January, to make a rare personal statement on the fora, admitting that she sometimes experiments with editing and apologizing for any confusion. That is absolute bollocks, as we say over here. And the reason I say that is because everything that gets put out into the public has to go through so many channels in order to do it. It has to be, get the tick by the side of it by so many different offices before it even gets into the public sector. So yeah. Hi, random fish. Hi, honey. I hope you're well. So, Kate was said to be see, this is all sorry, this is all crap to me. Right? It just is. But despite coming under pressure to release the original image to repair the PR damage caused by the row, Kensington Palace said it would not be reissuing the unedited photograph. Okay. Um, yeah, all right. Sorry, I just don't believe it. Kate was said to be very upset over the controversy, with friends telling The Independent that she wanted to own the issue as soon as she could and do the right thing. Oh, a load of baloney. I'm sorry, it's a load of baloney. This is the photograph. So, I do quite a lot of photo editing, and I'm looking at this and thinking, well, where is it edited? Can you see, Edna? Where do you think that's edited?
I'm not really sure. Let me blow this
I
up.
mean, he's
Hey,
oh,
Fish, how's it going, girl?
what they were saying is that
Yeah.
everything's crossed. I don't know what they mean by that. Her legs are crossed, her hands,
Mm.
his hands. I mean, what's the relevance of that? I honestly cannot see where it's been doctored
Okay.
or digitally.
I mean, it's
Girl's
like we're
wrist.
looking for.
Let me have a look. What, this one? Can you see the cursor? This one? What's wrong with the
Mhm.
wrist? Where?
I can't believe how big they are. I felt like they were toddlers yesterday. Jeez.
Yeah, I know. They're growing up.
Especially the
I
girl. I'm
still
like, oh
can't
my
see
God.
it. I cannot see it over whether it's been
I
digitally
mean, it's not
enhanced.
like I feel like this isn't proof of anything anyway. It'd be different if it was a video of her walking the grounds or something, but who knows when this picture was taken?
Right, I need to look at that. I need to keep looking at the chat. The
Where's
face, what is
this
it?
left wrist?
Was taken from a Vogue cover. I mean, to be honest,
Oh,
all those pictures look the same, don't
well,
they?
it's her face. I mean, wouldn't her face look the same?
Yeah. The girl's skirt. Right. Do you know what? I've seen it for the first time. Right. Does this look odd? The skirt there. Hang on. Where's my cursor? See my cursor? Is that bit there? Yeah. Because that would be there, wouldn't it? If you think, yeah. Ooh. I've just noticed that.
Okay, so Rand Fish
Bit dodgy.
says, no, if you superimpose it exactly the same and tilt it.
The
Okay. The face from
foliage.
the boat cover.
Right, the foliage is apparently wrong for the time of year. That's a good point. That is a really good
That's what I
point.
was thinking.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, could go with that one. I think also the skirt does look a bit dodge. Don't you think? Let me see. If you imagine her standing, right, this girl, I have to keep clicking on it. If you imagine this girl standing up, that's looks as if it should be an A skirt. Now, if it was an A skirt, it wouldn't be shaped that way, would it? Ooh, right, hang on. Her wrist looks like it's separate from her sweater. Which one, Bridge? There. I'm still not getting that. I'm not getting that, honey. The girl's skirt. What's this one? No, if you
I
superimpose
was
it.
the bridge, the fingers, yes.
What?
She was
What?
saying, what's up with the boy's fingers on the right hand?
There are like 16 suspicious points. This is a bit like, you see those two pictures and you have to see which one's different from the other one. Spot the
Well, it
difference.
reminded
Right.
me of remember when Beyonce was pregnant and she bent over in a dress and like her bump buckled and everybody was talking about it. I feel like we're analyzing a photo like that where I really wouldn't look that closely to it.
Right. Okay. Let's see what Bridget said. What's up with the boy's fingers on his right hand? Yeah, that's a weird thing, isn't it? Yeah, I would say that is definitely one. That's one. So there's something. Right, okay. Look at the leg. Look at the legs. Right, can you see the cursor? Look at the legs
Mhm.
here. Right, here, and where this chair is. Wonder if you can go in closer on this. Hang on 1 minute. Let's see if I can make it bigger for you. I can't, can I? Go back. Go back. I can't make that bigger. Right, okay. That looks a bit odd. The configuration of the legs, like that leg. And there, it looks like there's a heel. This little girl's not gonna have a heel on, is she? And there's no heel on that shoe.
I think that's just a
Mm.
oh, yeah.
If I were photoshopping, I would have omitted Kate's hands altogether. Do you know that was the first thing I looked at, random fish? That was the first thing. It's something that, yeah, it doesn't look quite right because they're exactly together, aren't they? In line with each other. So, okay. The blur effect, hang on, the blur effect on the left, out left is awkward. So you mean here, The blurry. I think the fingers do look a bit odd. I don't know what he was doing there. And it's like this little finger here. What's that doing? Why is that going over that? Do you know what? Try and do that. Try and do that with your own finger. I'm trying to do that right now, guys, and I can't do it.
Well, I used to
Put
do
your
it all the
middle
time. I don't
finger
really think the
over
photo.
your
Yeah,
ring finger.
it's like
Can
it
you do
looks
that? I
a little
can't do
wonky,
that.
but I don't think it's like I don't
I
know.
can't do that.
Yeah, I did. I could do every finger on top of the finger next to it.
Why doesn't that surprise me?
Don't tell me I'm some weird flexible finger girl.
I'm not saying anything. So Random Fish says this photo they suspect was taken during a visit op they did during the end of October night at November 2023 based on their outfits. Oh, the colours
Yeah,
of the
it's
clothing
very
would
fall
change
vibes.
and the girl's
Yeah.
skirt was superimposed. Right. Okay. All right. Do we care that much though? I don't really care.
Not at all. I thought I was
Oh.
gonna see something that looked like AI where they kind of created a picture in a scene. This is an
Oh,
edited photo, but I mean, people edit photos all the time.
I know, right? But the it says among the numerous concerns raised over the picture were missing part of Princess Charlotte's sleeve and the misaligned edge of her skirt. Well, I got the skirt and I still haven't seen the sleeve bit though. I don't get the sleeve bit, but I know that that's the bit that Bridget picked out, wasn't it?
Hmm.
Anyway, listen, we've spent nearly half an hour doing that. I was thinking of having a bit of a sort of mental health chat tonight because I understand that there's somebody that we know who or maybe familiar to us who hang on one sec, let's just get rid of that. Who suffers from we were talking about DID. So
Yes.
I did actually do a little bit of homework on it. I'm not as fresh on it as I would have liked to have been because I was getting this video out. But I still think it's quite a good subject matter. So let me just get this back up. Now then, it's called um depersonalization. And I've got to say, I don't know a great deal about it. So I thought it might be quite good if my computer wants to work to have a look at
Okay.
this. This is someone sent me this link to this video, which I thought was really interesting. I have to say, I've not checked it as much as um, I would have liked to have, but I have watched it. I've also watched professionals talking about it as well. So what I thought was, if we look at this and then maybe see what professionals are saying, I think it would
All
be
right.
a good idea. Ah, and we've got the very person here. This is the young lady. She's called Lauren Christine, and this is her
Hello.
video. So what I'd like to do, Lauren, if you don't mind, is play this through. And it's only, what, 8 minutes long? And then if you're up for coming up and talking about things, then you're perfectly welcome. And I think it would be quite nice to have quite an open conversation on it. And
Mhm.
you can educate us because I have to say I don't know a lot about this. It's something when we were talking on disassociation last week, I thought, well, I understand that because I've I've sort of suffered, or I don't know what the word is. I've had that happen to me in certain, times of my life. So I felt that I could speak a little bit on that, but I didn't know anything about this depersonalization. So let's give this a look because I think it's very informative.
Wait, you're
So
saying deep. Oh, okay.
I just want can you tell me if you can hear this though, please?
It's not what you think. I'm not going crazy. I'm here. I can be
Okay, I
present.
can.
I can be grounded. I am safe.
Good. I'm glad you can hear it. Good. Um, okay, let's go.
Depersonalization derealization disorder is a mental illness that affects about 1% to 2% of the country. The symptoms themselves are actually experienced by over 50% of people in their lifetime, but the severity of the symptoms are what contribute to a diagnosis. I'm hoping with this video, you and I will get a better understanding of how it affects people and how it works in the brain. I've done a ton of research and read a ton of studies that hopefully will help us understand this mental illness that most people are unaware of. I'm not a doctor or any kind of medical professional, so I may say terms wrong and or give information in this video that isn't 100% accurate on accident. Please seek help if you believe you may have this disorder. You do not have to suffer alone. The DSM-5 diagnostic criteria goes as follows. You must experience depersonalization and or derealization. Onset must not be contributed to any other disorder or outside agency. Patient must have a sense of reality and know their unreal experiences are not actually real. The disorder must cause significant distress and or social or occupational impairment. I was diagnosed with this disorder in 2020, but I started having symptoms in 2014 after a traumatic experience. You'll see a bunch of studies abbreviate it as DPDR, DDD, DPD, and more. It is believed DPDR disorder is brought on by trauma, and it's your brain's way of protecting you from the outside world. I thought I'd tell you how it personally feels before we get into the science. There are a few ways I can describe it. To put it simply as possible, it's almost like smoking weed and getting all the effects minus the high. A more detailed way of putting it is it feels like I'm trapped behind a glass wall. I have all these emotions and relationships and things happening and being thrown at this wall, and I can see them. I know they're there, but I can't touch them. I can't connect to them. That's what this disorder is. It's the disconnection between you and your environment and you and yourself. As of right now, there is no known cure or medication for DPDR disorder. Talk therapy, anxiety medication, and antidepressants are the main treatments. Some common symptoms of this disorder include, but are not limited to, feeling like you are outside of your own body. This can mean you feel like you're observing yourself or floating outside of your body. Feeling emotionally or physically numb, not knowing if your memories are your own or not knowing if your memories are real, feeling like you're in a dream or a movie, feeling emotionally separated from people you care about. Distortions in time. This can mean you have no concept of time or are too aware of time. Object and distance distortion. This means you may have a hard time perceiving distance and objects may look weird. Some say the world looks 2D. Now that we have the symptoms out of the way, this first study is about that emotional disconnection and cardiac responses, but we won't be getting into the whole cardiac aspect of the study. Most of the times, if someone were to say, I can't feel anything, people would think they must be a sociopath or have no empathy or they're a narcissist or even more assumptions that are actually completely wrong in this instance. What the study from Germany that was done at the Department of Psychosomatic and Psychotherapy notes is that there is a great disconnect between our sense of self and bodily autonomy when it comes to depersonalization derealization disorder. Results from neuroimaging studies, though rare, show reduced activation of the insular and anterior cingulate cortex in response to adverse affective stimuli in DPD patients as compared to healthy controls. To put this in simple terms, the insular cortex is responsible for things like sensory processing and decision making. The anterior cingulate cortex is responsible for emotional expression. When there's a reduced activation in these areas, you can find that people have trouble with emotional connection and even emotional facial affect. The way I describe this experience to people is it's not that I don't feel anything. I know when I'm happy, I know when I'm sad, I know what I'm feeling most of the time, but I don't physically feel it. Therefore, there's some kind of disconnect. That's why when I get a present, I can be really excited and I love the gift, but my face shows otherwise. I look bored, or I look like I don't like the gift. Subconsciously, I'm so happy, but I don't know how to physically feel that feeling anymore. When you have such a hard time connecting, you tend to really overanalyze every feeling or thought or action that you do. This is why suicide attempts are so incredibly common with those who have DPDR disorder. The study done in 2008 on dissociative disorders and suicidality states that those with a dissociation disorder and BPD and/or PTSD are more likely to attempt suicide than those without the dissociation disorder present. This makes the MDs doing the study believe that there is a greater need for screenings for dissociation disorders in order to prevent suicide. Suicidal ideation isn't something I've personally experienced too often. Most of the time, my brain feels too foggy to connect strongly to that feeling that way. Speaking of how it physically feels, let's talk about that. I can only speak from experience, but for me personally, the physical sensation of constantly being dissociated is what bothers me most of the time. It feels like my brain is full of cotton. I've had this disorder for almost a decade, so I've learned to appear quite grounded even though I have this feeling of cotton in my brain. If you ask most of the people around me, they usually can't tell my head is in the clouds all the time. While masking this disorder has caused a lot of people to doubt how mentally painful this disorder is, it's also been my way of surviving. If I wasn't masking, I feel like I'd just be a shell of a human. I wouldn't speak, I wouldn't move, I wouldn't do anything. I'm constantly fighting to be at least 5% present in the world, which is why I'm often tired and just mentally drained. I think that mentally draining aspect is why psychosis is commonly found as a risk with this disorder. In a study done in Switzerland in 2020, it was found that patients who are clinically high risk for psychosis also experience DPDR symptoms. The study found that there may be a commonality between the way the brain is wired that connects DPDR symptoms with psychosis. The last study I want to mention is one done by BMC Psychiatry from 2016. I spoke a bit about the masking that happens with this disorder. It's a way of survival, but it's also something that makes this disorder invisible at times. To put into words the actual severity of this disorder, here is the conclusion of this study as stated by BMC Psychiatry. In consideration of the selection bias of this study, this case series supports the view that the course of the DDS depersonalization disorder syndrome, now known as depersonalization derealization disorder, tends to be long-lasting. DDS patients are severely impaired, utilizing mental health care to a high degree, which nevertheless might not meet their treatment needs, as patients strongly opt for obtaining disorder-specific counseling. In view of the size of the problem, more research on the disorder, its course, and its optimal treatment is urgently required. This disorder can be extremely mentally painful and draining, but you are not alone. I am not alone. New studies are done every year, and I'm sure there will be treatments for this disorder in the future. I hope this deep dive into DPDR disorder helps you understand a little bit more about what 1% to 2% of the population is experiencing. If you think you may be experiencing this disorder, please seek the help you deserve. Thanks for watching.
So before we go any further, I want to say what a fantastic video. That was so well put together without dramatics that we quite often get when we watch things like this on YouTube. And this is what makes this particular video so good. I have many
Absolutely.
questions. Yeah, I
And
have.
very engaging. And sorry, go ahead,
That's
Jen. I'm
okay.
going to mute myself.
It wouldn't be the same if you didn't keep jumping in. mid-sentence, would it,
I'm
Edna?
I'm just ex I'm just excited because I thought we were gonna talk about DID, right? And I kinda had a concept of that,
Yes.
and this is much more, like, broad
Yes.
and actually relatable than I thought it would. Yeah, I mean, it's just it's very interesting and, like you said, just very well done. Thank you for letting us share it.
Yeah, thank you, Lauren. So I'm gonna put a link in the bottom here. Um, I was gonna have a break now, but I don't want to be on for too long. So, let's I think it would be really good to discuss this because I'm exactly the same as Edna. I thought it was DID, where you have different personalities, and
Mhm,
I have to say I've never actually heard of this before. Um,
mhm.
so there are some questions I'd like to ask you if you feel up to it. If you don't feel up to it, then that's perfectly fine. I'm not gonna force anybody to talk on something so personal, to themselves. Um, yeah, that's an interesting
Yes.
question, and I will be looking at the chat to see if people have specific questions they want answered. And that's one of the things that I would have asked, is it necessarily trauma-based? Um, because as I'm sure you're aware, a lot of mental illness, or a lot of mental illnesses are trauma-based. I
Right.
know for a fact that the illness I have is trauma-based, but, another thing, I put the link in the chat, Lauren, if you want to, click on it, it'll bring you up. Um, there she is.
Yeah, just take the elevator to the penthouse.
Hi, sweetie.
Hi,
Hi, how
Hello,
are
welcome.
you?
I'm good. How are you? This is actually, it's really weird you're doing this today because I actually had my first specialized therapy appointment for my disorder today.
Wow,
Wow.
congrats.
Thank
Has it
you.
has
How are
it got a
you
name?
feeling?
Has it
Yeah,
got a
so it's depersonalization derealization disorder. And I actually am also starting to be a part of a group that my new therapist does with other patients with dissociative disorders, and a lot of people in
Mhm.
there have DID. So um and I also have family members with it. I know a lot about the different kind of dissociative disorders. So if you have any questions about any of them, I can try and help as much as I can.
good, good. So
Well, thank you.
you've just now said DID.
Mhm.
So is it different to D it is different to DID,
Yes.
isn't it?
Yeah. So the difference is that DID most of the time is I would say like 95% of the time stems from childhood trauma. So when your
Mhm,
personality is being formed as a child, but you're experiencing trauma, your brain doesn't know how to make that personality one whole thing, and to cope it kind of separates these traumatic memories into different, they call them parts or alters. And so it,
mhm.
for your brain to cope with the trauma, um sometimes it makes you forget it, or um in my
Right.
case, mine was also based on trauma, but it was triggered by a trauma later on in life.
Yeah. I did. Okay, so before you got the diagnosis, which you said you got about 10 years ago, was it?
I started getting symptoms about 10 years ago, but I was diagnosed in 2020.
Oh, okay, so you lived with it for a long time. It's a bit like me. I was misdiagnosed
Hmm.
and, had to fight to get any form of diagnosis
Yeah.
that I believed was anything near what I had. I don't know what it's like. I mean, you're in America, and I know it's very different over there, how, the mental health, um, community or departments work with people. But before you were diagnosed, can I ask how old you are? Because you sound really young.
I just turned 29 on March 7th.
You are really young. You're a baby.
Yeah.
You're a
Congrats. Happy
baby.
birthday.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
happy birthday. Yeah, so before then, you must have been living with some sort of mental health issues, were you?
Yeah, so I've always really struggled with my mental health, and dissociation in itself was a coping mechanism I've used since childhood.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So when a more significant trauma happened when in 2014, my brain's reaction was to dissociate, and it just kind of stayed in that state.
So when
Yeah,
you say your symptoms, was that the dissociate that state of dissociation? Was that the symptom?
Yeah, so the depersonalization, derealization started for me in 2014, but it wasn't that bad in 2014. It got a lot worse over time.
Okay.
okay. Yeah, I can understand that. So, yeah, it's quite intriguing because, when you're talking to somebody that's got any form of, mental illness or mental diagnosis, you can't help but, look at your own.
Mhm.
And, I know that throughout I'm not sure if I did it in my childhood, but I know throughout my adulthood, I've used disassociation, but not recognized it as that.
Mhm. Yeah, a lot
Um,
of people don't
Mhm.
recognize it.
yeah, absolutely. And, I can remember specific times actually, even like in my teens, I would say, in my uh, early teens, when I would disassociate.
Mhm.
But of course, there was no word for it then. There was
Mhm.
no, and I just thought it was me, and I think because of my upbringing, I've not really, I don't know, I think it's different. I think, how can I put it? I think when you're brought up in a family environment, um, then it's probably, things like that can be recognized a lot quicker and a lot more positively by the family if they have, an idea of it or can understand mental illness. Unfortunately, I wasn't brought up in that environment, so I think
Mhm.
time was allowed to sort of go on for a long time, and I was able to sort of, in a way, it's almost like self-healing, isn't it?
Mhm.
When
Oh,
you
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah,
disassociate.
it's a way for your brain to protect you.
Yes,
Yeah, I was gonna say
absolutely.
like self-treatment.
Mhm.
Yeah. So when does it become this next disorder? I think that's what I'm try and
So,
imagine.
there are a few factors. One is that there isn't really any other diagnoses contributing to it. So if you're experiencing the depersonalization or derealization, there's nothing else contributing to those symptoms, like bipolar
So you can't
disorder
be like,
or yeah.
oh, I was gonna say, what if you have like ADHD or something?
So you can have both. So I have like comorbidities. I have a few different mental illnesses, but none of them
Mhm.
the symptoms I have of my dissociation disorder aren't also existing inside of those other diagnoses. It's all on their own.
Do you
So
consider ADHD a illness?
yeah, well,
Okay.
I guess it's a kind of like neurodivergency rather than an illness that needs like intensive therapy. Sometimes it does because it can be really distressing, but it's a bit different than like other mental illnesses.
Right.
I think it's more under the umbrella of autism. What's
Yeah,
the other
it's
Right.
one?
closer related to
Or
that.
is it
Yeah.
ASD? Is it a autism
It's on
spectrum
the
disorder?
autistic
Is that what it is
spectrum.
now?
It's
Yeah,
it's
something
on
like
the
that.
I think it's on the autistic spectrum, but I don't think it's necessarily seen. I mean, I could be wrong. Is it
That's
seen
more
as
of a
a?
condition
Yeah,
Is it?
it's not
rather than an illness?
ADHD isn't considered autism, but they do have a lot of things in common. Um,
Mhm.
it's a bit different, and that's why I think they haven't like said ADHD was
Classified it?
autism. But yeah.
Okay.
But it's like with other things. I thought, what you were just saying, Lauren, was quite interesting when you were saying that you don't have to have a mental illness to suffer with depersonalization.
Mhm.
Is
Yeah.
that true?
Yeah, so a big example that a lot of people can relate to of this depersonalization, derealization experience is when you're like driving a car and you are end up in a location and you're like, I don't really remember how I got here. Like, I don't
Yes.
remember that drive. That you totally
Yeah.
disconnected from the world while doing that. And that's basically like what's happening in this disorder, except like for me, it's a 24/7 basis. Like me talking to you right now, I seem really coherent, but that's because I've had this disorder for 10 years and I've learned to deal with it. Um,
Mhm.
and so I seem
So where are
okay.
you really right now?
I that's a good question. I don't know. I mean, I'm here, but
Girl, 'cause I be in the clouds.
yeah, my head is always like in the clouds. It feels a lot like there's just like a fog over me at all times. So,
But yeah,
Okay.
I can't really relate to that because that's not
mhm,
really how I sort
yeah.
of have sort of had to deal with things in the past. I think with me, my dissociation has more to do with it's so based in trauma.
Mhm,
It's like my thoughts, it's almost like I reached the peak of of being able to think logically and
mhm,
um I mean it's very I guess it's akin to being in a panic attack,
mhm.
but it's a
Yeah.
prolonged panic attack. Whereas I think when you're describing what your personalization is, it's more about, you're away with the fairies. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
It's more,
Yeah.
and I don't want to make it sound like it sounds more pleasant, but it just seems a slightly different way of your brain dealing with things. Uh,
Yeah. So people do experience DPDR symptoms in panic attacks. That feeling of like being outside of your body, that's a DPDR symptom.
yeah.
But it's the severity that really makes it a disorder. So like if you're experiencing the symptoms, you could be experiencing anything. You could be just experiencing anxiety. But if your symptoms are
Do you ever
ongoing
have
and distressing and yeah.
do you ever have, like, happy feelings, like euphoria or, like, manic state?
Um, no, my baseline is just mainly like content because it's hard for me
Okay.
to connect like physically with emotions. Like I feel them, but I don't necessarily feel them in my body, if that makes sense. I don't know.
So even, like, happy or excited or,
Mhm.
um, yeah,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah,
hopeful, like, some of those emotions,
Yeah.
because it's
Or
like
like
you
I'll
don't have a
know that
feeling.
I love someone or like someone loves me, but I can't
Mhm.
physically feel love, but I know it's there.
Okay. Like, it doesn't feel warm and fuzzy.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, that's really interesting, isn't it? Now,
Mhm.
when I was researching this, I actually researched it yesterday, was it, or the day before? Um, I found, so many. I find it quite difficult to fully understand
Mhm.
the feelings of it. So it must be so hard for you to sort of put it into words. And
Yeah.
so I really applaud you for that. I really do
Yeah, I think you're doing
because
a great job.
Well, thank
yeah,
you. I mean,
it
I really
'Cause I feel like
dedicated
I'm
a
getting a
lot
good
of
understanding of it.
Yeah, I've dedicated a lot of my life to kind of raising awareness for it. I have like an
Mhm.
awareness website for the disorder. I read studies all the time. I participate in medical studies, and I really try and help,
Wow, that's
get it
awesome.
studied more. Yeah.
That was
That's
my next question. It's like, what's your occupation or like what are you interested in?
Well, I do a lot of freelance like graphic design work and video editing mostly.
Oh,
I help
well, I
people.
guess I could have guessed that from how good your video was. Yeah.
yeah,
Thank you. Yeah,
yeah,
I help a lot of like creators like create their brands and maintain it and stuff like that.
Oh,
that's
nice.
really good. So you keep yourself busy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm kind of sort of perplexed a little bit about certain things about it, but I think it's people like you that give people who are possibly feeling the same way as you a voice that I think is what we all need.
Mhm.
And thank God for YouTube that there are people like yourself that are capable of speaking so eloquently and so clearly about a really difficult concept
Mhm.
for other people to understand. And
Yes.
you should be applauded for that.
Yeah.
That's
Well, thank
so
you.
good. So, you said you had other mental health issues that
Yeah.
you had to deal with as well. So how do they marry together?
Well, I'm finding now that so I was actually diagnosed as bipolar when I was 16, so before I got this disorder. I was diagnosed having bipolar 2, and I'm finding and with my new therapist that
Mhm.
a lot of the symptoms of bipolar 2 that were said to be bipolar 2 are actually symptoms of CPTSD, so complex post traumatic stress disorder,
Yeah,
which leads to dissociation. So, like, my what
Okay.
seems as a manic episode growing up was more likely a trauma response to stress rather than like
yeah,
a chemical imbalance.
yeah. So
Oh, right. Okay.
bipolar 1, is that the one that's seen as a chemical imbalance, or is it bipolar 2 that's seen as a
So
chemical
bipolar
imbalance?
1, they experience full-blown mania. Bipolar 2 is hypomania. So when you
Yeah,
experience mania to the point where it is like life ruining,
yeah,
it's usually bipolar 1. Bipolar 2, you're a lot more likely to experience really low lows rather than like super high highs.
yeah, yeah. Or you can be sort of, you can sort of be on the tightrope. I can't think of another way of describing it, but mentally, you can be on a tightrope, and,
Hmm.
I mean, the illness I have, is I fall off the tightrope all the time, but luckily, it's like I can fall off the tightrope, you know, several times a day.
You have a good net.
Nah. Normally, yeah, um, but it's like Lauren has obviously, explained it and is, um, has shown, I think, that she lives very well with her mental illness, which is how I feel. So although I keep falling off the tightrope, people don't
Hmm.
always see it. Oh, I think they don't
Mhm.
see it.
Okay.
Maybe they do, and they think,
Yeah.
"Oh my god, she's gonna she's gonna go off on one." But, yeah, it's interesting to hear how people, describe their sort of the way they live their lives with a diagnosed mental illness, because I think there are many people that don't get diagnosed.
Hmm.
And I mean,
Mhm.
that's really sad. I mean, I was diagnosed for years. I was misdiagnosed for years and hence didn't receive the treatment that I should have had. Um,
Mhm.
but I live with it now, and some people may think that I'm blasé about it. No, I'm not blasé about it. I'm just aware that uh, sometimes you just have to play with the deck you're given.
Right.
Um,
What do they mean blasé? What do they expect you to do about it?
well,
Hmm.
I think, so many people feel stigmatized about, having a mental illness. I mean, years and years ago, um, people would be locked up if they were assumed to have a mental illness. Thank God that doesn't
Yeah.
happen anymore. I mean, it may happen if that person then goes out and does an awful crime. But generally speaking, most of the mental institutions have gone. At least I believe they have over here.
Hmm.
Um, so I think people do look differently at it, but I don't know. I think some people may feel that I'm blasé because I just say, "Yeah, I've got this," and that's it. I have to live with it. It's trauma based, so I can understand it.
Well, I
Um,
see it. Yeah, well, I see it as something like diabetes, where yeah, you can have diabetes, but you can also like eat healthy and exercise and not have diabetes. Now, if you go back to eating poorly and not exercising, you'll develop diabetes again. And I think of that same thing as like having these mental disorders, where if you're not taking care of yourself, doing the things you need to keep the symptoms at bay, yeah, you're gonna be, full blown X, Y, and Z. But if you do what you need, you're not necessarily that illness just because you have the ability,
Yeah, I
to
mean, I
express
think
those things.
stereotypically people would assume if you have a severe mental illness that you would obviously show symptoms to the outside world, and that's just not the case. Like, we have to learn to live our lives with these. And
mhm,
so and
Exactly.
I don't know about you, but I'm not gonna like pretend my symptoms are worse or like make my life harder by showing them to everyone, just
yeah,
to like please people and make them
But that's
understand.
that's what we expect of disabled people though. That's
Hmm.
what's so bizarre. Whereas, it's like if you see someone jump out the car as they're parking in like the disabled spot, you're like, hey, you can walk. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? It's like just because maybe the person is doing whatever they need to do just so that they could be at that level and
Hmm.
present that way, right? So that's you don't realize it takes all that effort to be that person. Without
Yeah.
it, they wouldn't be. Yeah, so it's just interesting.
It makes it extremely lonely. Being mentally ill and it being very invisible to the outside world is very lonely.
Yeah.
I think because I'm older now. I think I'm excused a lot because of my age. I think people sort of, people are so much more kinder because you're older. Um,
Mhm.
so I don't know whether it's a change in society or just the fact that I'm older and they think, oh God, she's, she's as nutty as a fruitcake because she's old. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I
But
think it's probably a little bit above Jan, to be honest. No. But well, it's post-pandemic, right? And
yeah,
I think we all dealt with a bit of depression and anxiety. We had to learn how to people again after being um what is it, after sheltering in place and like just depending on your situation, like people went through so many different um kind of feelings and emotions and things because of what was going on and varying degrees of, mental wellness with it because, it was a lot to handle. And I know in America we do not have the framework like with healthcare in general to handle that, especially on top of
yeah.
a pandemic.
Well, I'll be interested to hear how Lauren coped with it because I have to say, and I think this has got to do with my mental illness, but the pandemic didn't bother me.
Oh, me
It's
neither.
weird. It's weird, didn't it? You either. I tell
It
you
literally
what.
like just didn't happen in my brain because I didn't.
Yeah.
Nothing was different.
It
Really?
really didn't bother me. I mean, there were certain things that were, inconvenient.
Mhm.
And, there were certain times, like at Christmas, when, we couldn't all pile over to each other's houses and things like that. But other than that, it didn't have an adverse effect on my mental health. And I really think it's because I really think it's because of my mental illness. I think
Mhm.
I'm just so used to having to deal with trauma that it wasn't a trauma for me because I live with trauma anyway, if that makes sense.
Oh, okay. Yes, it
You know
does.
what I
Yeah.
mean? It's
Okay.
like,
Yeah.
Mhm.
um, yeah, it
And
really,
also the like eternal loneliness people were feeling of being stuck at home, like that's an everyday thing for a lot
yeah,
of us. So
Yeah.
like
yeah,
it's not a different feeling.
yeah. But I mean, I think you have to be careful when you say that online because then you're going to get people say, "Oh, she's a lonely, she's a lonely old bint." I wouldn't want to
Well,
say that, but I will say that because of my upbringing, and maybe because of my mental illness, I'm used to being alone and I'm used to
Mhm.
yeah.
dealing with things alone. And that doesn't mean to say that I'm lonely. I,
Mhm.
g- I can go out, I've got family, I've got friends, but it's I think it's only something that somebody else who possibly suffers with something very similar to you
Yeah.
can really relate to
Mhm.
is that feeling of being alone in the world. It's
Yeah, it's
something.
not that you don't have people, it's that,
Yeah,
like, internally, like, there's not really anyone having the same experience as you.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, I mean, I've received treatment for I've had CBT or
Mhm.
CBT or CBD. I've forgotten.
CBT,
Cognitive
yeah.
CBT.
behavioral
Yeah,
therapy.
yeah, I've had that. Now that dealt with my anxiety because I have anxiety and depressive disorders. Now that helped with that. Because at the time I could go into my counselor and I could say, "Oh, I'm really worried about doing this. I really want to do that, and this is on the horizon that I want to be able to cope with," and blah blah blah. And we could work towards coping with that. So in that
Mhm.
way, CBT helped me, but it didn't help the mental illness,
Mhm.
which I've sort of realized no one can really help with that because it's all about your own mind and the way you
Mhm.
look at things.
They
So,
can, but only as much as you understand what you need help with.
uh, I don't know. I don't know. What do you think about that, Lauren? I must just say before Lauren speaks here, Random
Mhm.
Fish, do they still believe you are bipolar or that you were misdiagnosed? I don't know who that's aimed at.
I
I
think that's
would
aimed at me.
That was you, was it?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to answer that, Lauren?
Or maybe
Yeah,
both.
they as of now, they really do think it was a misdiagnosis. The only real way I'll be able to tell is if I slowly get off of the medication I'm on for it and see if it affects my mood, and the way that a typical bipolar person would react to getting off of mood stabilizers. Um, so it all just depends. It's something I'll have to figure out. But they do think it is rather a CPTSD symptom than bipolar disorder.
Yeah. Okay. Although it can be the two.
Hmm.
So is your mental illness cluster B?
No, I don't think so. No,
Okay. So you take antipsychotics?
no, I don't. I
Oh,
take
right.
for my bipolar. I've been on lithium since forever, um, but I mean, in this past year, I've been able to go from like taking like 900 milligrams to 300, and nothing changed mood wise. So really thinking that it does nothing to do with my like mood.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And
So
that's a serious medication to be on, isn't it?
Yeah, I
that
have to get
is.
blood work like every 6 months. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It's yeah. I've got a cluster B. Why is my phone not charging? Sorry.
I don't know if we really understand. Do you understand cluster B, Lauren?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Lauren will.
cluster Bs are personality disorders, um, like BPD or um, narcissistic personality disorder or
Okay, I
anything like that.
understand that.
Yeah. Hmm.
And that's versus cluster A, which would be
More psychotic. That's more
psychotic. Okay.
like bipolar A
Hmm.
and
So could you
schizophrenia.
think of it as cluster A is it's like a chemical imbalance and cluster B would be trauma induced?
I think
Um,
so. I think I'm
yeah.
right in saying that. Yeah. But I mean, the frustrating thing I think with mental health is that you could
Mhm.
see two different psychiatrists on 2 different days and
Hmm.
possibly come out with 2 different diagnoses. That's
Yeah.
the
And that's no
frustrating
good.
bit. No, it's not good, but it's the way because at the end of the day, although they do have the book, which I can never remember what it's called, the DB,
DSM-5?
yes,
DSM-5. Yeah.
DSM?
yeah,
Hmm.
although they have that, there's certain it has to be updated, and it seems that whenever it's updated, you get some psychiatrists who say, "No, no, we don't believe that. We don't believe that." There's a lot of controversy.
Hmm.
It seems to be the only way that the psychiatrists can really diagnose with. I mean, I was diagnosed because they thought I was bipolar. They thought I was bipolar too.
Hmm.
Um, so when I saw the professor, she actually pointed out the differences and said what my traits were and this, that, and the other. And so yeah, that's how I got my diagnosis, which is BPD. Um, but I also believe I have see, when you said the PTSD, I
Hmm.
thought that was childhood.
So PTSD is like normally it's when you have trauma related to one specific situation, whether it be short term or long term. And complex post traumatic stress disorder (CPTSD) is more commonly seen in patients that have a set of different traumas throughout their life that have caused their mental health now, like their issues now.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. See,
okay.
I think I've also got that, but
Hmm.
I'm not going back. I'm not going back to have another diagnosis. It's like, okay, you've lumped this one onto my lap and I live with it. I'm happy to live with it. I think I'm aware of my triggers. I know my triggers and I know I'm also good at voicing them. And I will say to people, look, I feel this way, or, I'm not going to go into too much detail because in this neck of the woods, on YouTube, there are the people out there that are going to run with any personal information I give out. But yeah, I think it's like, as Lauren says, and Lauren, bless her, is so young that I think maybe when Lauren gets to my age, um, she'll, she won't necessarily have got rid of the mental illness, but she'll be so adept at handling it and recognizing it that she'll lead a fruitful life. I really believe that. And
Oh, well, I hope
Yes.
so.
oh, I think so, Lauren. I think so
Mhm.
because you're so astute. Now, I mean, at your age, I didn't have a bloody clue. 29, I had 3 kids.
Yeah, I get
Um,
it.
so yeah, that were driving me nuts. But I know Edna's really interested in mental health and diagnoses and everything. So, is there anything else you wanted to ask, Edna?
No,
Eh,
I mean, I guess I'm just interested in maybe how you cope or like how you take care of yourself to keep yourself well.
um, that is a good question, and it's a hard question for me to answer because on like a day-to-day basis, it's very hard for me to even remember like what I did yesterday in like a cohesive timeline. I just kind of have like bits and
Mhm.
pieces of memory because I'm always like my head's always in the clouds, and my brain is focusing all its energy on being present every day rather than retaining memories. And so it's hard for me to um think about how I'm even dealing with life. A lot of the times it feels like I'm on autopilot.
Yeah.
And I wasn't able to afford or find a therapist that knew how to deal with my disorder until, I mean, it's been a decade now. I finally found someone after a decade. And so I've really just been on
Wow,
autopilot for
okay.
10 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
I can fully understand that as well. I think a lot of it, I think, well, I was going to say, especially in America, because I do know quite a lot about the mental health side of things. Can't think of the word, or treatments that are offered in America, and I know how some people really do suffer because they don't get the treatment that they should be receiving. But then I
Mhm.
can say the same thing over here. I
Mhm,
personally think our mental health um, help treatments is absolutely terrible. And I actually did say something
mhm,
to somebody the other day, and I don't think they were very happy about it. But
Well, good for you.
yeah,
Who did you say something to? Was it like a administrator or something?
yeah,
Good.
because you're sort of I mean, Lauren, you probably know what it's like. They give you these courses for like 6 weeks, and then you're supposed to be like, "Hey, everything's fine now," and it's
mhm,
like, "Well, no, um, no, it isn't. Well, we're going to sign you off the books now." Ah, okay. So, and you really have to kick up a stink to then be accepted in back to the same clinic. It's just ridiculous.
yeah.
So anyway, I've been going
Yeah.
through that again because I'm like, no, you're not going to fob me off. So yeah, I was in a room with a few sort of professionals, and I said to them, I'm very disappointed in the treatment that I've received or the lack of treatment I've received. And
Mhm.
no, I don't want to do group therapy. Thank you very much. I don't work well in a group therapy kind of situation. Um, but yeah, so without
It's
giving too much away.
it's interesting because my dissociation disorder is actually more heavily researched in the UK. So a lot of the research that comes out about my disorder isn't done in the States, it's done abroad. And a lot of the studies are done abroad, and there's even a charity dedicated to my disorder in the UK called I think
Oh,
it's
wow.
Unreal Charity is what it's called.
Right, I'm
Um,
gonna write
Mhm.
that down. I'm
yeah.
gonna write that down. Carry on, keep speaking.
Um, and and so it's been really hard to find anyone here that knows how to treat my disorder. In fact, when I was diagnosed, the psychologist who diagnosed me had never even diagnosed a patient with it before, and he wasn't aware it was a disorder in itself. He just thought it was a set of symptoms.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So what's it called? What's the charity called?
Unreal.
Unreal. One word.
Yep.
Unreal. Yeah. Oh, that's what it's called.
Hmm.
Unreal. Okay, I might check them out. Okay. Go and tell them what I think of them. Nah. Nah, I'm not that bad. But yeah, let's just see what Barley has to say because I think Barley also suffers with BPD. Um, so let me see. It's hard for me to get treatment. My life is so strange that I see them confused when I talk about it. So I gave up. I heal myself. I know exactly what you mean, Barley. I know exactly what you mean. I mean, there's some people in the profession, that I've said, well, actually, I've got BPD, and they're like, what's that? I'm like, oh, never mind. Don't bother.
Right.
Only I can understand myself the best. Yes, that's true. Uh,
Valley bingo. That's what I was saying.
so Bali, let me just focus on Bali for a minute. So, did you get diagnosed, Bali, or do you just feel that you have that? And if you were diagnosed, how long ago were you diagnosed? Because that's quite interesting. So random fish. So for dissociative derealization order, do you have lost memory that are not lost memories that are not accessed, or do you actually not have memories because you disassociated for prolonged times? That's an
Um,
interesting
It's kind of a
question.
bit of both. The reason that my memories are kind of lost is because of the dissociation. And a lot of the time,
Mhm.
if you remind me of something, then it'll kind of come back to me, but I won't be able to really remember on my own. It's definitely harder for me to come up with that memory without someone helping me,
Yeah.
which
Do you?
leads to a lot of like really complicated, stressful times because you can get
Yeah.
like manipulative people into your life who will try and convince you you've done
Right.
things or said things you haven't done, and it can be hard. Yeah.
Can I ask you whether that's just the lost memories? Are they just the negative memories or the traumatic memories, or do you forget, you know, good memories?
Really anything. It's just everyday life. I mean, I don't remember a lot of like my childhood, and I do think that is trauma related. But it's also just like I said earlier, I have a hard time even like putting together a timeline of like what I did last week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. The reason I ask is because I mean my family laugh at me, but um, when when George Michael died, I know it's probably gonna sound a bit weird, but when George Michael died, we were sort of on the family WhatsApp, and I just said, "Oh, it's so sad," you know? I just wish that I'd seen him, before he died, and my son
Oh,
texted back and said, "Mum, we went and we saw him," and do you know what? I'd completely forgotten that I'd seen George Michael.
Hmm.
And I thought, that's so weird. Now, I know I've been blessed. I've seen hundreds of performers, but I would have thought I would have remembered going to see George Michael, and I didn't. And now it's almost like when I try and remember, I think I do remember seeing him, but
Hmm.
it's weird. It's not like I mean, I think I remembered just about everybody else that I've seen, um, but I cannot remember George Michael, which is really weird. So they all
Hmm.
laugh at me. The family think it's hilarious. I
Yeah.
don't know because I really want to remember seeing him, you know? So, and I'm
Mm.
sure I wasn't it's weird because now when I think about it, right, now when I think about it, maybe when I go to concerts, I do have a certain I do have a certain feeling that maybe I do dissociate when I go to concerts. And the
Yeah.
reason is because I don't like the crowds.
Yeah.
And I have
That's actually very
oh,
common.
Yeah, I have to literally disassociate from the crowds, and normally it works. Sometimes it doesn't, and I feel myself going into panic.
mhm.
And then, it's just so it's not always enjoyable, but yeah,
Right.
maybe I was
Hmm.
in a dissociative state that
Yeah.
time, and that's why I don't remember it. God, that's so
Mhm.
interesting. I've just worked something out.
Jen,
Right,
it was
okay.
Yeah.
just you and him that
I mean,
night.
I am. Sorry, what were you saying, Edna? What were you saying?
Oh, I was just joking. I was like, it was just him and Jan that night.
Oh.
She was just so
Yeah,
into right there with him.
I mean, I'm sure Lauren can understand how
Mhm.
you'd have to do that sometimes.
Mhm.
And I know for a fact that, I've seen so many greats in concert, but yeah, I do have to disassociate because
Yeah.
otherwise, and I feel it's a weird scent. It's a weird feeling. It's like I enjoy being there, but then
Feels like a dream.
I'm in a heightened state of um what's the word? Awareness, really. It's
Mhm.
like I remember
Oh yeah.
in a Bryan Adams concert saying to my daughter, I can smell fire. I can smell fire. And she was like,
Mm-hmm.
no, it's all right, Mum. And I said, well, can't you smell it? And she's like, no, no. And I'm like, okay. And I'm just constantly pushing the panic down. So
Yeah.
maybe, yeah, that's really weird.
Mhm.
I've
Yeah.
realised that now. Let's
Mhm.
just see. Hello, Judith. Hi, I must share this as I'm hopping mad. Saw you were live, so jumped on. I left a comment on one of your Peter videos. He saw it and called me out and bullied me for over 20 minutes straight. Oh, really? I'm so sorry, Judith. Listen, most of the people I call out, especially if I do standalone videos, it's because I recognize them for who they really are. And I know for a fact that Peter is a bully. I know he's a liar. He made me go through a very hard time by accusing me of stalking him and harassing him. This is about 3 or 4 years ago, so I'll never forgive him for doing that. So I will continue to make fun of him because, he deserves it, but I'm so sorry he put you through that. I'm really, really sorry, Judith. I suffer from panic disorder, and this has affected me quite badly. I'm so sorry, Judith. How dare he? You're very welcome here, Judith. On a Wednesday, we tend to sort of just chat about anything. Tonight, we're talking about mental health. And then on a Friday, we talk about drama. Uh,
Drama.
Drama Friday. Now, nobody watches,
Friday.
but everybody
No.
seems to know about it. It's really odd. So you're very welcome here, Judith. Please, everybody, say hi to Judith. That's disgusting that he should do that to you. Absolutely disgusting. And how weird that somebody with such a huge following should focus in on somebody. Why is he looking at my videos? See, that's why I speak out, guys, okay? That is why I speak out. Because there are people like that. He's like another hussy. And people say, "Oh, how can you come for Peter? We all love Peter." No, Peter, Peter is an arsehole. He really is, and I will continue to speak out. But Judith, I won't
Jen, I
mention
love your American accent.
Judith. I
So
won't
funny.
mention your name again because I don't want him coming for you, darling. But yeah, yeah, just come here, darling. Nobody has a go here. We're all very different people in here. We don't all get along. I mean, Edna drives me nuts. On every panel, she's like, we disagree on everything. Ah,
I love
but
you so much, Jen. It's always wonderful here.
we just take
And
each
thank
other
you,
very
Lauren.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we've got Lauren here on the panel who's done an amazing video. I'm going to link the video, Lauren, for people to watch
Yeah.
it again, perhaps if they feel that they missed out on anything. And Judith, yeah, as I say, you're very welcome. And I'm glad you shared it. You shared it. Please do not let him affect your mental health. If you need someone to talk to, you come in here, okay?
Mhm.
And we will talk to you. I will always talk to people, especially people who are wronged. I don't like it. I don't like bullies.
Listen, I had to put a big halt to participating or engaging or talking about any of the drama that you sometimes do talk about on here and elsewhere on this side of the internet, because it was like a self-sabotage thing I was doing. I would feel really down, and then I would participate and talk and about this drama and end up getting into more drama myself, and it would just be a
Yeah.
cycle of destruction, and it literally the definition of insanity. And so I had to get to a point where I just can't participate in it. I will like watch things and kind of like keep up to date on what's going on because it is entertaining, but
Yeah.
for my own mental health, like I can't participate in it anymore. So if
Be
you know,
too
do what you have to
involved.
do. Hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm
Well, I
quite.
think that's just safe with any. Sorry, Jen. Go ahead.
No, go on, Edna. Go.
No, no. Go right ahead. I didn't even have my thought flushed
You never
flushed
do,
out.
and
Go
that's
right
so
ahead.
annoying, Edna. Sorry, Lauren, but I have to keep her in her place sometimes. Edna, when you keep jumping in,
I'm sorry.
Edna always jumps in, Lauren, and then I shut up quickly, and then she says, "Oh, it's okay. No, it's all right, Jan. Carry on."
Well, because I'm used to talking with some of my friends, and we're just like this. Like we just jump in, and we know that we're like we're just like yeah, go ahead, and we just keep
Yeah.
talking. So
It's all fun. That's what I like about, our Wednesdays and also our Fridays because we don't agree on there either. But, it's just about, being able to say what we wanna say. I
Hmm.
don't have a hug box. If people come in and they say something, a bit negative, I'll address it, but then if they act like a plum, then I'll just block them, you know.
Hmm.
But, anyway, I'm gonna say goodnight now because 'cause it's been over an hour and a half, and I'm tired, but I want to say thank you so much to Lauren, for coming
Thank you for
up.
having me.
Oh, you're very welcome, and, one thing I would say to you, because you did that video so beautifully, maybe get some more out, you know?
Yeah, I'm working on a part two, but I just moved out of my parents' house back in December, and all of my like recording equipment is still back at my parents' house, so I have to wait to kind of get my microphone and all that.
You're very good. Not only, um, the editing and the actual production, but also the way you speak is lovely, and,
Mm.
yeah, you speak with great clarity. Yeah, I applaud you. So if you do get one out, please somehow let me know. I
Yeah.
know you friends with Bridget?
Yeah.
Yeah, we like old Bridget. She drives us nuts, but we still like her.
Oh
She's
yeah,
quite
she's crazy, but
lovely.
we love her.
Yeah, yeah, we love our bridge. Yeah, I don't know how the 3 of us all get on, but we do, and it's always a great laugh. So anyway, please, come to the channel as often as you can, and if you've got anything to say, especially about mental illness, you can always hit me up, Lauren, and I'll sort of, drive you even more nuts because 'cause I'm good at doing that.
All
Okay.
right, sounds good. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Edna, thanks for coming up, darling. See you on
thanks
Friday.
everyone. On Friday.
Drama
Bye.
Friday.
Thanks again,
Drama
Lauren.
Friday. Yeah. And thank you to everybody in the chat who took part and those who lurked, those who, had a few questions, and just for being here. It's always lovely to see you all. And also to welcome Judith. Look forward to seeing Judith again. So you all take care of yourselves because it's a rotten old world, guys. But I'll see you very soon. Bye bye for now.
Bye.